All right, so welcome back to Zombie Squad Cast, and I've got Kay, also known as Mr. Bland, and he's a comic book writer, artist, comic book creator, Dre Saturn, and the Child of the Orb.
Yes, child. Yes,
Man, I nailed it. So you said Child of the Orb.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I believe we met at one of the Comic Cons I attended. I produce a couple of web series based on DC Comics, Marvel Comics, and then some. I produce some other original stuff too. Not necessarily comic book. It's more you know other web series as well. But and long story short, me and my colleagues, we attend Comic Cons, filming cosplayers for some avant-garde footage, some crazy action footage for these different web series that me and some partners produce, and that's where we met, discussing it. And so I got some information from you about your original comic book. So without further ado, Kay, aka Mr. Bland, if you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us a little about what you do, who you are, and what's been going on.
Of course. So, yeah. So, like you said, I'm a writer. I'm an artist and a writer. My passion really is the writing. I love to tell visual stories. You can tell by my books, yeah, that I'm very visual with what I do. Um, I started out. This story started out in college years ago. You know, like over 20 years ago. It was a popular comic strip at Brooklyn College, black and white comic strip published in the college newspaper on a monthly basis. It had a nice following, and so I'm like, years passed. I dabbled into other writings, writing screenplays, drawing on the side, stuff like that. But then this story was still sticking with me all these years. I'm like, I still want to tell this story, but I didn't know if anyone was going to be into, comics, because everybody's into the Marvel movies and so forth. But I said, you know what, I want to get this out here. So I did the first issue. I wrote that. I partnered with an artist in Thailand because I love anime. I love that kind of art style, and I do more traditional art drawing. More, so I want to get someone who really specializes in anime drawing because I want to bring that to the table. Because that's the passion art I love, and I want to get someone who genuinely draws anime to draw that for me, who's on the same page and vision as me. So ooh, yeah. So you brought up my website.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So that's some cool stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
The artist. To explain the process, I draw the little sketches of the characters how I want them to look, and then I tell the artist, add draw these characters, and we go back and forth until we get to the characters that we both like, that he feel comfortable drawing, and I feel comfortable, showcasing in my book. So, because as an artist, I understand the process of what an artist go through. It takes time. Not, you want it fast and okay, or you want it slow and great. So, we take our time with the artwork. I take my time with the story, and the books are coming out at a pace of like 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
So it just it's a 6-part issue, and the first 3 parts are already done. The 4th part is being colored right now by another colorist who works on books by artist EXO. That's a comic book out there, and what's the other one? EXO, I believe. EXO. I forgot the name of the other book. It's African Warrior Woman, and he does the coloring for that book. So he came on board to help alleviate some of the workload off of my artist. So he's going to do the coloring for the 4th book.
Oh, great.
I do the lettering, the lettering, the graphics on the book. So we have a nice little team, well-oiled machine, and we just trying to get them out as quickly as we can without, killing ourselves or whatever.
Absolutely. No, I
Yeah,
understand. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's a grind. It's a grind. It's a grind. But we love it. We love it. Yeah. It's just it feels good to get your story out
Mm-hmm.
and to see the faces of people who are engaging in the story and seem to be following it and and liking it. So loving it. So yeah.
Yeah. So with that said, and it's great to hear that you still have issues being released. You still have people working on it. Obviously, they're working on it remotely now. Was that the model before? Everybody was kind of working on it remotely even before the quarantine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's yeah. So we all work remotely. These people, one is in Thailand, one is in Africa. So we Skype and work online, and that's how we communicate. So constant emails, constant sending me um, sketches, my notes on the sketches. I redo some sketches, go back and forth like that. Yeah. And so during the summer period, work it hasn't affected our workflow.
Okay.
Okay, so we're still working on the book. It's affected, showcasing it at the next, Comic-Con convention, basically. We scheduled to be at Brooklyn Comic-Con, and there was also another one in Richmond that we was not Richmond, Washington, that we was gonna go to. Both of them canceled, of course, because of the corona. So instead of just worrying about not going to a convention, we're just gonna take this time to finish working on the books. We're 3 books away from completing the first series arc, so it's exciting.
Awesome.
It's actually it's also kind of relief as well. It's also relieving because you don't have to worry about a deadline too much. Trying to get a book done for a specific convention so you can showcase it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since they canceled or postponed, now you could breathe a little bit and
Yeah.
just really take your time and really perfect the book the way you want it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And going back to those 3 different web series that I was producing, I don't know what it was about my determination to just schedule things out, knock things out, not to procrastinate. And over the course of the last 2, 3, 4 years, I'm not a procrastinator, and it's, if I have an agenda, if I have a project, if I have an idea, it's write it down, schedule it, break it down, budget it, shot list it, and then shoot it, put it in the can, and then at some point, obviously, you got to sit down and edit it. And with the 2 web series, we were going to a number of Comic-Cons, filming cosplayers. Then we were here in the studio, and I've got a green screen behind here, and we were shooting the other scenes that we were determined to shoot on, and so I was determined to get everything in the can so that I could just start knocking stuff out. I could start cutting it. And once we finished production on the 2 web series is basically when my wife was in 3rd term. And then it was like, okay, got to focus on the pregnant wife, maybe dabble a little bit, this editing, that editing. And then it was Corona. And it was like, okay, I'm not going anywhere. It's going to be baby, wife, editing, baby, wife, editing, baby, wife, editing. And I was able to knock it out. I kind of gave myself still a strict schedule, and I can't agree with you more on having like a little bit more lackadaisical schedule and being able to relax and take your time with the comic.
Right.
Comic-Cons are canceled, probably out for the next year.
Right.
So you can sit back, relax, really flesh out. You're not rushed now, so you can really concentrate on characters and story, world building, universe building, the art, the detail.
Right.
But and that's fantastic. And for me, I wasn't rushed because I was going to a gig, baby, wife, edit the side project, going to a gig, going to a gig, baby, wife, and then side project editing. I was able to all my gigs at that point was just strictly concentrating on the editing. And and so so since everything was concentrated on the editing, I could take a little bit more time really polishing each episode, really tweaking the audio so everything sounds good.
That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the point. And the fans and your followers appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
you want the best product. It's, I mean, you're doing it for your fans, you're doing it for your followers, and you're doing it for yourself as well, because the work reflects you. So you want to put the best work out that you possibly can, and having the time to do that just benefits you.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with that in mind, and it's good to hear that you prior to the COVID quarantine, you were working remotely that way. How would you say? So with that in mind, how would you say you've been impacted by the quarantine?
Well, procrastination,
Mm-hmm.
like you said before,
Yep.
you still got to be disciplined. I mean, now we have no debt for the rest of the year, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to feel rushed. You take your time with it, but you also take a little too much time where you may take, instead of taking a day off, you may take a whole week off. And
Right.
it's like, okay, then the more time you take off, the harder it is to really get back into that mindset, really focus on that story. So it's just a procrastination. You just want to sit back and, for me, I got to finish writing issue 5. I haven't started writing 5 yet, which is not like me, but that's because I'm still focused on issue 4, which is already written. But since we have this time, I'm going back and, working with the artists on maybe we should add this, change that,
Mm-hmm.
but I also got to make sure, get the script for issue 5 written so the artist can work on that. So just got to be mindful of that, the scheduling. Yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah.
And one of my artists had a problem because he has an office, and because of the quarantine where he's at, he couldn't go to his office. So we lost the whole month of him not even joining anything for me because he couldn't even get to his office and get his supplies.
Mm-hmm.
So we lost the whole month on that. I was the reason why we met so late. I'm supposed to start at 2, started like 2:15 because I was
Oh,
talking
no
to
worries.
artists.
Okay.
About that. Yeah, so yeah, but we're still moving along. We're still pumping this out, and I just want all the people who are following to know that the next issue is coming out. If you don't make it at the next Comic-Con because of this Corona, it'll be available online for people to get. So, and that's what I'm looking at too. My strategy really for the books was to really just showcase them at different Comic-Con conventions, just to get the buzz going, just to get the awareness going before we put it out in stores, before we put it out on a mainstream level. We just want to really build a fan base for it, because we're brand new. It's very competitive market. People are into Marvel and DC. It's really hard for an indie comic based on a character no one's heard of to really get traction. So you got to take your time to build that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not rushing it. We're not trying to shove it in stores and shove it, all over the place, online for people to buy. We just want to, create it, showcase the next issue at a comic convention, see what people think of it, have people follow us, keep in touch with us like that. And then when we have all 6 ready, then we'll put them all out, roll them out like a traditional Marvel comic would do, or DC, like every month or whatever in the stores or what have you. But people who follow us in the beginning, we got extra perks for you guys. You get the issues before anybody else. You get them signed. Extra, perks like T-shirts, stuff like that, merchandise we're gonna come up with. You guys get there first, and which I think is just our way of saying thank you for joining us on this ride and helping us build this character, this book.
Yeah, absolutely. And
the team.
And yeah, it's that person to person where they can you can actually talk to them face to face. They can actually hold it in their hand. And I do subscribe. I did subscribe to some digital comics with Marvel and those are great. And me personally, I think it's just easier to read comics on a pad, on an iPad, and still the comics are getting out there, the art and the story is getting out there, but there's a beauty to the nostalgic, the hard copy of a comic, the 20-page, the 30-page comic book issue, and actually having one autographed by the artist, and going to meet, the artists and the writers and the creators of the comics, and getting something autographed and reading it again and again. you know, I've got I still have a couple of old comics that, you know, my kid, me and the wife, we read the kiddie books, you know, Winnie the Pooh's ABCs and you know, Who Loves Baby and those, you know, Snuggly Puppy, those kind of kiddie books. But then I'll pull out, you know, this comic book, and he sees like these big crazy drawings, and I'll just and I can't read it to him the way the comic book's written. So what I'll do is I'll just say, here comes, you know, I'll kind of rewrite the narration for him. Like, here comes the Hulk smashing down a building, Hulk attacks Captain America. I'll kind of do my own improv kind of narration for him, but I'll show him those panels. I'll show him this hard copy of a comic book. And I only have like one or two that I tried to do that with, and I had one on the iPad. I had another hard copy of a comic book to show him, and of course he starts falling asleep. He falls asleep during Winnie the Pooh's ABCs anyway, so it's, you know, whatever gets him to sleep, right?
They love the colors. They love the artwork. You know, it's the first thing you see. You know, and grab you and grab the young kids. I have a lot of young kids who run up to me at conventions, just grabbing a book. They love the artwork. They love the colors. You know, some of them are too young to really understand the story, but they just want to pick up the book and read it. So
yes,
I like that you do that. You know, you take these more adult written type of books and you re-narrate them for your little child, so you can understand it. Yeah, that's
well,
cool.
I don't.
My son.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, in my opinion, the versions of the comics I have aren't as violent. You know, there nowadays there are some more violent versions of the Hulk and Wolverine comics, and then there's more. You know, I think the main main X-Men storyline is not as violent as maybe, what is it, Marvel Max or Marvel Ultimates are way more violent than just the regular Marvel storyline.
Violent too, like that new Mortal Kombat film that came out. That's brutal.
Right. Brutal. And but so, you know, the older versions of the older issues of the comics that have digitally or hard copy, they're not that violent. And if they can make a Disney version of the Avengers, a Disney animated version on the Disney Channel, then clearly that's okay for kids. And so if I'm showing him these panels and not necessarily trying to get him to process the very, you know, intricate adult sci-fi fantasy themes, but just simple like good versus evil, you know, Hulk beats up Doctor Doom and Captain America beats up Red Skull, then he's just got this basic good versus evil, kind of like good guys, you know, defeating bad guys type of idea. But you know, it's stuff that I grew up with, and I want him to like at least get a taste of. And if he doesn't like it, you know, later on, then I'm not gonna shove it down his throat. But you know, speaking of, you know, family and personal issues, how would you say you've been impacted personally by this quarantine?
Personally, it's depressing, man. I lost a lot of loved ones. I know friends who lost people, and you know, you got to isolate yourself. So, you know, it's not fun, man. But then you get engrossed in your work just to get through the day, and motivate yourself to just create. Because if you look out the window, you know, it's depressing. I'm not gonna lie, it's depressing. But, but I try not to let that affect me creatively.
Of course. Yeah. And where are you based out of?
I'm in Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn, New York. Yeah. So it must, you know what? So it must have been WinterCon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. So it must have been WinterCon. I got your information at, and yeah. So yeah,
I like that one. That was a good one.
WinterCon actually turned out a lot better than I expected. Yeah. It was very cool, and yeah. So I mean, you know, New York is a much busier, you know, higher populated place, obviously, than say where I'm at. I'm in the suburbs of Maryland. I am right outside DC. You know, it is semi busy here, but you know, compared to New York,
New York is it's gonna be a while before we get back to normal.
Yeah.
Maybe not to next year this time. So bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
we do it.
So
Just
so
laugh about it though. I guess, yeah.
of course, yeah. And it's just it's very congested, and so it's even more pertinent to be to stay isolated and quarantined in that kind of environment. And
Well, because of the quarantine and because of the lack of interaction and no conventions,
mhm.
mostly there's a lot of conventions in New York, the tri-state area, and surrounding cities. So we're changing our strategy a little bit from just showing the books at a convention. We might just release the rest of them online, just because we know we got a couple of followers who are what's the next issue at. And we don't want to keep them waiting too long because of the shutdown. So we might start releasing them online for people to see, check
Sure.
out. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So in the meantime, what have you been doing to preoccupy yourself? Say, binge watching something on Netflix or Hulu, some a movie that stood out, or a series of books you've been reading, or just one book, to something that stood out, really blew you away, or just really helps you, just get through the day and pass the time and take your mind off things.
I'm doing some reading, reading some fantasy books. This book called Destiny.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fantasy. I love kind of stuff, fantasy novels. I'm reading that. I'm reading comics that I had a backlog of that friends and colleagues that I met on the convention road gave me a lot of their books and some pretty good stuff. War is one of them. Black Sands is another one that I'm checking out, which is pretty damn good. And the last thing I saw was that movie I was just talking about, the Mortal Kombat. Kind of was like, I like that style. It was graphic. I like that. I'm not trying to have Dre Saturn be graphic like that, but because I'm trying to have this more like for all ages kind of thing.
Sure.
Yeah. But we did have plans to turn this into an animation short. We already have a theme song set up. I was working with a music producer who already put a theme song together, and I was working with an animation company to do some rough but we just want to really focus on getting the last 3 books out first before we put all the energy behind animation, because the books come first. And it's all about the books first, and everything after is just icing on the cake.
Sure. So,
but that's it.
So
Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Yeah. So with that in mind, what would you say is your next? What would you say is your? I mean, considering what your plans for the next 6 months, what are your ideas, or what's your vision for the new normal?
After we finish these last 3 books, I'm gonna be working on another series. My nephew. My nephew created a character, very interesting character, and we showcased him in issue 3 of our comic right now, and it motivated him. So he's coming up with new characters, new bad guys, new villains to give his character some adversity. And I'm gonna be working on doing a one-shot single for his character he created. That's our next plan, and then I'm gonna be hard at work working on 2 of this series. This like the first arc, the first 6 issues is the arc 1, and it's gonna be arc 2, which is another 6 issues that continues the story in another direction, which is I'm very excited about. It can't wait to that. It's already outlined, but I can't wait to start writing that. So yeah.
Awesome. So again, with the new normal, people are considering that there's not going to be any more big conventions. There's not going to be any more Comic-Cons. Like my big money maker, my big technical production field kind of job skill set is live streaming events, conventions, concerts, seminars. I've done a couple of Comic Cons myself, setting up the lights, the screens, the speakers, up lights, the staging, the set decoration, all that for like these big conventions, seminars, and then live streaming events as well. And the new normal is looking at a lot of things being virtual. No more public events, maybe for at least for a little while, maybe not permanently, but what's your view on the new normal, say, going into the next year?
Well, like you said, just everything virtual. Might do like more podcasts like this.
Mm-hmm.
Virtual communication, what we're doing now, I see that being the new norm, and doing more of that with followers, with fans, other creators. I could see that being the new norm.
Yeah.
Or at least.
All right. Well, if you had one point of advice, one bit of advice for our viewers, what would that be?
Embrace it. Like my character, you have to embrace his destiny. Embrace what you're passionate about. Whatever you're passionate about, embrace it and take time to feel it and bring it to life. There's no one stop you now. You shut in, so you can't go nowhere but stay home. So instead of staying home and just watching TV, work on your passion, whatever that passion might be, whether it's writing, drawing, learning a new skill. This is the perfect time to do that. The perfect time. Reach out to people to see what they're doing. Do a collaboration. Just don't sit home and just be depressed. Engage with people online, to reach out to each other. Social media is a wonderful thing, and it's the time where it's needed the most. So I would take advantage of that and just, you're not alone. Everybody's it's in the same boat. So just come together online and, make a new type of social gathering.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I guess to close out, you got any plugs, any links, any socials you want to put out there?
Yeah. So follow Dre Saturn online at Instagram. It's Dre_Saturn. On Facebook, it's just Dre Saturn, one word. Follow this young guy who's on this adventure through the galaxy with his two friends. He, is crossed with these pirates, these marauders, this beautiful princess, and this powerful orb that could control the universe. So it's an exciting story spanning 6 issues. So just follow us online and see what's coming next.
Awesome. Well,
Kay? At DreSaturn.com.
DreSaturn.com.
Yeah, I'm gonna update that soon.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you heard it here. Kay, with creator of Dre Saturn. Can't thank you enough for joining us. I'm looking forward to checking out the comics. I'm gonna, sift through all the socials and the websites with a fine-tooth comb and check out all the different issues. And the viewers out there, check out the links below to Kay's comic books, Dre Saturn. And for the viewers of Zombie SquadCAST, like, subscribe, share, comment, thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. I don't care. Ring the bell for notifications and check us out next time.